It was a bright and sunny Saturday morning in the peaceful town of Meadowbrook. The air was crisp, and the cheerful laughter of children playing in the park echoed through the neighborhood. The houses were cozy and well-kept, with colorful flowers blooming in every garden. The park, right in the center of town, was the heart of the community where families gathered to enjoy the weekend. Tom, Lily, and Ben, three inseparable friends, were sitting under the big oak tree near the playground, chatting and sharing snacks. Tom, the adventurous one, was always full of ideas. Lily, clever and quick-witted, often figured things out before anyone else. Ben, cheerful and curious, brought energy and humor to the group. As they laughed and planned their afternoon, a sudden, distressed voice interrupted them. "Help! Someone, help!" cried Mrs. Miller, their elderly neighbor. She stood outside her house, waving her arms frantically. The trio sprang to their feet and ran over to see what was wrong. "Mrs. Miller, what happened?" asked Tom, his voice full of concern. "It's Whiskers, my cat. He's gone missing," Mrs. Miller exclaimed, wringing her hands nervously. "He slipped out the door this morning, and I can't find him anywhere." Lily placed a reassuring hand on Mrs. Miller's shoulder. "Don't worry, Mrs. Miller. We'll help you find him." "Right, guys. Of course. We'll look for him right now," added Ben with a determined nod. "Thank you, children," Mrs. Miller said, her eyes welling up with relief. "Whiskers is everything to me. He's small, gray, and has a little white patch on his nose. Please, bring him back safely. We'll start at the park," Tom suggested. "It's close, and cats love hiding under trees." "Good idea," Lily agreed. "Let's go." The three friends set off toward the park, ready to begin their search. As they walked, they discussed their plan. "We'll need to ask people if they've seen him," said Lily. "Maybe someone noticed a gray cat with a white patch." "Yeah," Ben chimed in. "And we should check all the places a cat might hide, near bushes, under benches, anywhere shady. Remember," Tom added, "if we don't find him here, we'll search other spots in town." "We can't give up." With their plan in place, they reached the park, ready to begin the search for Whiskers. The sound of laughter and rustling leaves filled the air, but the friends were focused. They were determined to help Mrs. Miller and bring Whiskers home. The park was alive with activity. Children ran around the playground, their joyful screams filling the air, while parents watched from benches nearby. Dogs barked happily as they chased frisbees, and the scent of fresh-cut grass lingered. Tom, Lily, and Ben looked around, scanning the area for any signs of Whiskers. "Okay, let's split up," said Lily, taking charge. "I'll check near the playground. Tom, you search around the benches, and Ben, go look by the big bushes." "Got it," Tom replied, already heading towards a line of benches shaded by tall trees. As Lily approached the playground, she crouched down to look under the slide and swings. She called softly, "Whiskers, are you here?" A few children nearby giggled as they watched her crawl around. "No cat here," she murmured, standing up and dusting off her knees. Meanwhile, Tom stopped by a couple sitting on a bench. "Excuse me," he said politely. "Have you seen a gray cat with a white patch on its nose?" The man shook his head. "Sorry, kid. Haven't seen any cats around here." Tom thanked them and moved on to the next bench. He was determined not to miss a single spot. Ben was by the bush, poking gently through the leaves with a stick. "Whiskers, here, kitty kitty," he called, his voice soft and inviting. Suddenly, a rustling sound caught his attention. His heart raced as he bent down to look closer. But instead of Whiskers, a squirrel darted out and scurried up a tree. "Ah, just a squirrel," he sighed, disappointed. After about 20 minutes of searching, the three friends regrouped near the oak tree. "Any luck?" asked Lily. Tom shook his head. "No one I ask has seen him." "Me neither," added Ben. "But I found a squirrel." Lily frowned. "We've covered most of the park, but there's still no sign of Whiskers. Maybe we should ask more people." Just then, a young girl with pigtails approached them, holding a small popsicle. "Are you looking for a cat?" she asked shyly. The friends exchanged hopeful glances. "Yes. Have you seen him?" asked Tom eagerly. The girl nodded. "I think I saw a gray cat near the bench by the fountain." "The fountain," repeated Ben. "We haven't checked there yet. Let's go." The group rushed toward the fountain, their hope renewed. The sound of water splashing grew louder as they approached, and they scanned the area carefully. Would they finally find Whiskers? The fountain search, however, turned out to be another dead end. As they reached the stone benches surrounding the water, they spotted a few pigeons, a couple of ducks waddling by, but no Whiskers. Lily sighed. "He's not here either." "What now?" Tom tapped his chin thoughtfully. "Where else would a cat go?" "Somewhere quiet." "The library," Ben exclaimed. "Cats love quiet places, right?" "Maybe he snuck inside." Lily brightened. "Good idea, Ben. Let's try there next." The three friends hurried out of the park and down the street toward the Meadowbrook Public Library. As they entered, the cool, hushed atmosphere enveloped them. Rows of tall wooden bookshelves stretched out before them, and the faint scent of old books filled the air. "We need to keep our voices down," whispered Lily. "Let's spread out and look carefully." Ben wandered toward the children's section, crouching to peer under tables and chairs. "Whiskers, here, kitty," he whispered, trying not to disturb the readers nearby. Tom scanned the shelves, checking behind bookends and potted plants. Meanwhile, Lily approached the librarian at the front desk. "Excuse me," she asked politely. "Have you seen a gray cat with a white patch on its nose?" The librarian adjusted her glasses and smiled. "Oh, a cat. I think I saw one earlier. It was sitting by the window in the reading area, but I haven't seen it since. Lily thanked her and gestured to the others to follow her to the reading area. They approached the large bay window, where a warm beam of sunlight streamed onto a cozy nook with pillows and chairs. But Whiskers was nowhere to be seen. Tom frowned. He must have left before we got here. Ben slumped into a chair. This cat is really good at hiding. Lily remained determined. Let's not give up. Maybe someone else saw where he went. We should keep asking. A sudden rustling sound caught their attention. The three of them turned toward a small bookshelf near the window. Could it be Whiskers? The rustling turned out to be nothing more than a stray breeze disturbing a loose piece of paper. With their hopes dashed once more, the friends decided to regroup outside. Standing under the library's arched doorway, Tom sighed. This isn't working. We need to think of places where he might go looking for food. The supermarket, Lily exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. It's nearby, and if Whiskers is hungry, he might have wandered there. Ben nodded enthusiastically. And supermarkets always have open doors. He could have easily slipped inside. With renewed determination, the trio made their way to the Meadowbrook grocery. The bustling store was filled with the chatter of shoppers, the hum of refrigerators, and the occasional clang of shopping carts. The air smelled of fresh produce and baked goods. Let's split up again, Lily suggested. I'll check the produce section. Tom, you try the bakery, and Ben, see if he's near the seafood counter. Each friend took off in a different direction, scanning the aisles carefully. Lily wove through stacks of apples and oranges, calling softly, Whiskers, are you here? She crouched to look under a display table, earning curious looks from nearby shoppers. Tom wandered to the bakery, where the warm scent of fresh bread made his stomach growl. Whiskers, he whispered, peeking behind racks of pastries and bags of flour. No luck. Ben reached the seafood counter, where the strong smell of fish made him wince. He leaned over and whispered to the clerk, "Excuse me, have you seen a gray cat around here?" The clerk chuckled. "A cat? Yeah, I saw one a little while ago. It was sniffing around the fish counter, but it ran off toward the back storage area." Ben's eyes widened. "Thanks." He hurried to find Tom and Lily, relaying the news. Together, they headed toward the back of the store, where employees were loading boxes and organizing shelves. "Whiskers," Lily called softly as they entered the storage area. The sound of faint scratching made them freeze. Tom pointed toward a stack of crates. "Over there." The three of them approached cautiously, peeking around the crates. They finally saw him, Whiskers, perched on top of a box, licking his paw. "Whiskers," Ben exclaimed, his voice full of relief. The cat looked up, meowing softly. Lily reached out her hand gently. "It's okay, Whiskers. We're here to take you home." Lily gently scooped Whiskers into her arms, stroking his soft gray fur. The little cat purred contentedly, his white nose twitching as if he was happy to see familiar faces. "Good job, Whiskers," she said with a smile. "You gave us quite the adventure today." The friends carried him back to Mrs. Miller's house, taking care to ensure Whiskers felt safe and comfortable. When they arrived, Mrs. Miller opened the door, her eyes lighting up with joy at the sight of her beloved pet. "Whiskers," she exclaimed, reaching out to take him into her arms. "Oh, thank you, children. You've brought him back to me. I can't tell you how much this means." "It was our pleasure," Tom said, beaming. "He's quite the explorer." Mrs. Miller chuckled. "He always has been. I'll make sure to keep a closer eye on him from now on." As they said their goodbyes, Mrs. Miller handed each of them a small plate of freshly baked cookies as a token of her gratitude. Back at the oak tree in the park, the trio sat down and reflected on their day. "That was a lot of running around," Ben said, taking a bite of his cookie. "But it was worth it." "Definitely," Lily agreed. "It feels good to help someone, especially when it's for a furry friend like Whiskers." Tom leaned back against the tree, a satisfied grin on his face. "And we learned something too. It's amazing how teamwork and persistence can solve a problem." The friends laughed, enjoying the warm afternoon and the sense of accomplishment. It had been an adventure they would never forget, and they knew that whenever the next challenge came along, they'd be ready to face it together. The day's adventure not only brought Whiskers safely home, but also left the friends with a deeper appreciation for their teamwork and determination. As the sun began to set over Meadowbrook, its golden rays casting a warm glow across the park, the trio sat contentedly under the oak tree. "Today was more than just finding Whiskers," Lily mused. "It reminded me that when we work together, we can tackle anything." Ben nodded. "And we got to meet so many people, like that little girl at the fountain and the friendly clerk at the supermarket. It was like an adventure in every stop." Tom smiled thoughtfully. "Yeah, and even though it was frustrating at times, I'm glad we didn't give up. Persistence really does pay off." The friends clinked their cookie plates together in a playful toast. To teamwork, they cheered in unison, their laughter ringing through the tranquil park. As they prepared to head home, Mrs. Miller appeared, waving from her porch with Whiskers comfortably nestled in her arms. "Thank you again," she called out. The sight warmed their hearts. A perfect end to a fulfilling day. Walking back to their homes, the trio chatted about their next big adventure. Whether it was helping another neighbor, exploring a new part of town, or simply enjoying each other's company, they knew they'd face it together. After all, the best adventures were those shared with friends. And with that, Meadowbrook returned to its peaceful rhythm, the little town carrying the echoes of a day well spent and the promise of many more to come.